Morty, I can tell you're disgusted. It's a disease, Morty. A genetic disease. It's already in you, Morty.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Rick and Morty Season 9, Episode 4 video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs, references, so we will break it all down. There have been a couple lore questions that they answered that go all the way back to the very first episode of the series in Season 1. One of the biggest being Rick's now confirmed bottomless flask of booze. When I saw it in the episode, I realized I had not thought about it in a long time. You can let me know if you like the show answering questions from way back in early seasons like this. The longer the show goes on, the more it does things like this, answering little questions that they raise in the very, very early seasons of the show, but never bothered to pay off until now. The episode title is A Ricker Runs Through It, a reference to the movie A River Runs Through It, which they mostly use for the bit with them going fly fishing and camping. They also kind of reveal in this episode that Rick really likes to go fly fishing, not Reese, the character who takes them fly fishing. It's actually Rick's thing when he creates the other android at the end of the episode and they go fishing again, so he just really likes to go fishing. The episode mostly feels like Dan Harmon making an episode based on the idea that you get locked out of your own phone, then getting your phone hacked and blackmailed in order to get control of your accounts again. Maybe Dan Harmon just got hacked at some point in the past and that's why he came up with this idea. You could also look at this as the Iron Giant episode because the plot also kind of follows the Iron Giant movie and they reference it heavily during the episode. The opening scene is Rick coming home the morning after an all-nighter of drinking extra drunk and gets locked out of his systems because he can't remember the password. He's too drunk, causing the garage to completely lock down. Later, we actually learn the password is just Morty. Morty reveals, "I'm your password." So for some reason, Rick just got so drunk that he forgot that Morty's name was the actual password. When he starts yelling at Morty saying that he won't inherit anything from him, that could either be because he's not in Rick's current will, or he's just saying that everything will go to Beth, and maybe Space Beth too, his next of kin, before they'd go to Morty and Summer. Reese then calls him on the phone because he's locked out of the garage, but Morty thinks that this is like their longtime friend that they've gone on many camping, many fishing trips with in the past, before he learns the truth of what Rick has done. But they really play it up for a bit. His ringtone on his phone also sounds very familiar, but I couldn't actually place it, so if you think you know where his ringtone is from, let me know in the comments. The reason why Reese has his phone number is because Rick programmed him to have his phone number and all of his passwords. Reese is basically like a glorified password authenticator. If you couldn't tell, his voice was pretty identifiable, but it was Owen Wilson who was voicing the character. He was the big guest star this week. Later, they reveal Rick created him for situations like this when he got locked out of the garage, so like he's specifically made for this, so anytime they go fishing, it's because Rick gets locked out of the garage. So it sounds like based on the way it plays out, Rick has an alert set up on his phone that will just go off anytime he gets locked out of the garage's systems, and that's when Reese shows up, and then he goes back into storage when they're done. This time during the new intro, we actually see one scene that does appear in this episode for the first time this season. It's the fly fishing scene, which happens right after the intro. They go camping on an alien world. Rick is still very drunk. Morty says he loves these trips, meaning they've done them several times. Later in the episode, they actually run through the hallway to Rick's room. There are many pictures on the wall with Reese to show you that there have been several times in the past. There's another one during the post-credit scene too. And I think part of the gag is that because Rick programmed Reese for this to go fishing with them, the joke is also that Rick really likes going camping, he really likes fishing in trips with Morty, and it was just using Reese as a surrogate, but also because he needed a password authenticator too. So it was like Rick trying to kill two birds with one stone. Like, he really does enjoy going on camping trips with Morty, but he also just wants to get back into his systems.
Great fly fishing wisdom, Reese. Really call me.
You gotta wade with the current, dude.
You're the best.
And a lot of the folksy wisdom that Reese has is stuff that Rick programmed into him, so I think it's stuff that Rick would also like to be able to say to Morty, but just can't because Rick is so allergic to actually talking about his feelings with the family. There are also a couple moments later in the episode where Rick reveals how special his relationship with Morty is amongst the multiverse, so it's just another reminder that he really does love Morty, even though they spend most of the episode yelling at each other. Reese says you two may fight, but you're the real deal. He also says the same thing at the end of the episode before his body is given over to the tech agent. The phrase means both Rick and Morty are a special pair in the multiverse, which Rick later tells him, very nice thing that he could possibly to say to Morty, but it also I think is meant to be part of the authentication phrase that helps him get back into the garage's systems, like it's that special phrase that opens up his passwords. I think this is confirmed because of the ding on Rick's watch, like the alert goes off on his watch to let him know that he's back into the garage's systems, and that's why he ends the camping trip here, and Reese then gets the alert on his phone, which tells him basically to go back into storage until this eventually happens again. Morty gets way too attached to Reese emotionally, and Beth also comments on this later, saying that he's been making way too many older adult friends and it is getting creepy, and she is not wrong about that. Morty, still attached to Reese, tries to stop Rick from destroying him because he's got all of Rick's passwords and it's not safe to keep him around if they're not going to be using Reese anymore. So Reese makes the Iron Giant reference literally during that movie. The Iron Giant is a weapon created by a race of aliens that bravely reverts to its original programming and almost destroys Hogarth, like the main character, and a whole bunch of people before he remembers that he wants to be a good person, not a weapon. Which is kind of the way this episode winds up ending with Reese's character. Morty causes another lockdown on purpose and tries to escape with Reese into the lower levels of the garage. We see a couple new levels in this episode. Behind him here, you notice there's an Earthworld hat from Season 8, Episode 6, where they went to the theme park called Earthworld based on Earth culture, like a super messed up WTF version of Disneyland. Morty puts the hat on Reese's head to cover the exposed brain, and he's still wearing it at the end of the episode. You also notice behind him in the tanks, it looks like there's a xenomorph growing or in stasis, like Rick has xenomorphs and some other type of alien creature in another tank here. Rick then calls a company called Huge Clouds Metallurgy to get help with the lockdown, and we learn that a race of intelligent cloud beings created the metal that Rick used to construct the garage, but Rick has further improved on the technology to make the house even more secure. If you're looking at this episode like Dan Harmon once upon a time got locked out of his phone and needed to have the Genius Bar unlock it, like he had to take it to the Apple store to get it unlocked, this is kind of what Rick is doing, only the person has to come to the garage because the garage is too complex to take it to the cloud people. They set up the bit with the cloud people being able to take over other people's physical bodies and using Jerry for the first one, which they mostly use for comedy, with the tech person experiencing the physical body with way more mass for the first time and getting off on it. Love the scene of him taking Jerry's body through the car wash just because he loved the physical sensation, like the texture of it all. Later in the episode, Jerry also says that he can taste wax. That's meant to mean that the tech person went through the wash again a couple more times after they solved the problem. We see our next new level of the garage, and it's the prison level. The big joke here being that we never really see any of the dangerous criminals in prison down there. Like, they don't ever actually do anything because Reese's beam weapons kill them when he opens the door. So you could post all your theories about why Rick had them locked up down there. Probably because they were too dangerous for other prisons. Like, even the time cops maybe weren't able to handle them. Like, that's how hardcore they were.
Lagged and screamed revenge.
No, all that buildup? I'm glad something happened.
Morty also does a Rickism when he calls out a trope like Rick normally does in episodes and says that he's glad that Reese killed the one survivor and this happened because there was so much build-up to them getting into the prison here. He's happy that at least something happened because it looked like they were going to completely skip this part of the episode. Like there was all this stuff leading to this moment and then nothing happened. I'm glad that something finally happened. Rick ends up digging out the entire garage. As far as we know, there are at least 22 floors, maybe 23 now with the prison level. Later, Beth also jokes about this because Rick implies that the construction job that he did with the basement levels isn't that great and they're going to have more potential sinkhole problems in the future. Like, don't ask me questions about this construction job. No, it's totally up to code. Please don't inspect it. When they go to the sub-basement room with all the 80s technology and the portal under the desk covers, it's meant to be a reference to the basement from Tron Legacy with Flynn's old lab. Morty calls it a landline portal, which is a reference to landline phones, and they step through it to the Hog World, which is a little bit like Flynn's son going onto the grid using his old technology. You also notice the fact that there's only a handful of locations that this can connect to implies that Rick created the Booze World in this portal device during the 1980s when this was still brand new technology, which does line up with the timeline for the show based on how old Beth is and when he created portal fluid for the first time. Rick setting himself up as the god of the Hog People planet also feels like something that he does frequently around the multiverse, like the Microverse and the Teenyverse. Note that people also revolted against him there. Pretty much everywhere he does stuff like this, the people eventually revolt against him. Reese literally calls himself out as a glorified two-factor authenticator and says that he thinks that fishing is boring, so I think that confirms that Rick was always the person that loved to go fishing. Morty then returns to the garage after leaving Reese there after they unlock it, and the Hog People reveal that they hijacked Rick's tech in his passwords stored inside Reese, setting up the whole V for Vendetta subplot. All the masks that the Hog People wear are from V for Vendetta. They try to kill him so they can win their freedom from their bargain with him. Their planet can be free. They eventually call Rick a degenerate and all of his kinks out when they find access to his desktop in the Circmate website and all the pictures and video he has stored from that particular website. Rick tries to defend it like, no, they're making love. So we will not kink shame him. All the rest of the family wind up fighting all the different houses' defenses inside the other rooms and start yelling at Rick that he's embedded his tech in virtually every possible thing inside the house. We've known this for many seasons. They mostly use it for one-off comedy with like a couple different things around the house, but every once in a while, the house will go off the rails or something will happen and the house's systems will work against him. Like they've done Rick versus the garage before, like the garage AI has gone against him, Rick versus the house before. Summer and Beth reveal they're more impressed with the tech cloud version of Jerry. Later, Beth also wants him to stay for at least another week just because she wants another break from Jerry, like a longer break from her regular husband. They do the floor is lava bit, and it's literally lava. Rick can't remember if it's for fun or for defenses. He has that same ringtone on his phone again, and this time it's the Hog people because they got his number from Reese. He uses the Tech Cloud's ability to jump through the phone system to kill the Hog people, and then when they run to Rick's room, I think this is the first time we've been inside his room in a great long while on the show. As a last-ditch effort, the Hog people try to reprogram Reese to try and kill Rick. Like I said, this is a comp to the ending of the Iron Giant movie where it almost kills Hogarth until it remembers that he cares for him and comes to his senses. Which is basically what happens to the Reese character. He eventually overrides the Hog programming and stops. As he shuts down, he says they're the real deal one last time, and Rick then fixes the sinkhole under the garage, filling in the holes, and then at Morty's suggestion gives Reese's body to the Tech Cloud. And they make it sound like it's going to be payment for his services because Reese's body is worth so much money, and the Tech Cloud agent is so expensive.
There is a place called Sky Zone. Do not visit me there.
When he mentions don't follow me to Sky Zone, I know a lot of questions. What is Sky Zone? Why would he not want Rick and Morty to follow them there? That might just be some debaucherous place that his race likes to visit that he wants to try out with his new physical body now, like with all this mass. Some sort of weird cloud person kink. Rick then fires missiles on the Hog people's planet, killing all of them. Maybe there are a couple survivors in there that will come back and get them. They also use that for bits in later seasons too. Like, I remember this one person that you didn't kill. Now the big joke, though, is that he just has thousands of flasks, so he's going to keep drinking as much as he did before, admits to being an alcoholic, then rants about how it's a genetic condition that he's going to be passing down to Morty, meaning that Morty now has a highly increased chance of also being an alcoholic when he gets older. So watch out for that, Morty. That's an actual real thing. During the post-credit scene this time, Rick locks himself out of his tech again after a short time jump, and this time Morty almost kills a regular next-door neighbor named Rex that just moved in next to them, who likes Minecraft, just wants to hang out and have a good fun. So feel kind of bad for Rex here, thinking that he's another android, but no, he's real. So maybe they'll follow up on this in a future episode where like Morty is afraid to go outside and run into Rex because he lives next door. Remember that one time you almost killed me? Rick then reveals he created another password android authenticator and named him Georgie Boy, and looks very similar to Reese, sounds similar, and is another fly fishing bit. So I think this just confirms that Rick really likes to go camping, and he's going to continue locking himself out of the garage on the regular. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, and if you spotted any other Easter eggs or references in the episode that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. What'll happen next week, because House of the Dragon Season 3 Episode 1 is starting, that'll be my first video I post Sunday night, so my Rick and Morty Episode 5 video will post Monday night or Tuesday morning. I'll try to get it out as fast as possible. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everybody click here for that video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for all my other Rick and Morty episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.